Hey everybody, this is Create Moose with the new video here. I'm going to try my mic out on my computer because my other mic right now is not currently working very well. But this is going to be my first tutorial for Talespire, so enjoy. Today I'm going to just basically show you some nature stuff, or how to make more realistic looking nature so that your game looks a little bit better. Let's create a new board. Talespires, if you don't know what it is, it's like a virtual tabletop simulator. It's amazing. The graphics are fucking unreal. This is your tabletop, and this isn't really a tutorial in terms of like how to run Talespire, more of just how to make some decent looking realistic scenery, wildlife for your party to explore. So we're going to go to our build button for like our world building button, and we'll get some grass going on right now. So I'll usually pick the smaller of the two blocks, just because it gives me a little bit more control over what my terrain looks like. The big stuff works really good for like filling in cracks for certain types of terrain, like the mud works really good for crack filling, but I usually end up using just the single block on this. So usually what I'll do is I'll define a base point. So for this right now, I'm just kind of wanting to make some rock kind of deals. So we'll make a 9x9. Just so you know, you can also on the bottom right, if you see where the grass tile is right there, it'll show you where or how big your selection is. So it's a 9x9 right now. So here's our land right now. We're just going to make a small map. If you can see right now, these are all facing the same direction. I don't know if they're ever going to implement a feature for like an auto rotate that you can turn on or off or anything like that. But that would be pretty fucking amazing. Just so you know, Talespire guy. You can do it this way. Just randomly spin up a couple blocks, which to me, honestly, I don't normally do this that much because the way I end up doing it ends up making it hard to notice that it's all the same pattern for the grass. So what we're going to start doing here is we are going to change our elevation. You can do this by holding your control button, and that's going to give you the ability to raise or lower our tiles so that you can start making the land a little bit different. So I'll start raising them up a little bit like this, kind of getting some variety in our terrain. Because the ground is never, ever going to be absolutely flat. But it doesn't really look that bad if it's all flat. I just don't like it myself, and it's kind of a preference thing. A lot of people do enjoy the flat look, like when you just have a flat board, because they want people to use their imaginations a little bit more and make it less based in the Talespire world. Because let's face it, if there's like a, for instance, a random bottle in the middle of our map, the player's going to walk up to that bottle on this map and they're going to want to see if the bottle has anything in it, when it could have just been something I had just to make it look like a house. Or I mean, I was just, you know, if that was in a house, for instance, it would be something I was putting in there just for decoration, just to make it look better. But now it's there, so the person's going to want to investigate it and see what's up with it. So, I mean, some people don't want that to happen. They want you to use their imagination and just put a very default looking, you know, they want to put a fountain or something in the middle of the ground or in the middle of a place or something like that, and they want you to see a basic circle fountain, but in your mind they're just, you know, describing it to have a dragon's head and blood pouring out of its mouth or some crazy shit, because you're going to imagine that. So it's all up to you. But here's like a this makes it, you know, makes it look a little bit, I don't know, variety. Gives it some variety. This is how I like it. This is like a decent little selection here, right? So, yeah, basic. I mean, there's some grass. Nothing pretty crazy. Nothing crazy at all. So, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit more variety. I'm going to randomly delete a couple chunks. Here, we're going to add some mud. Dirt, whatever you want to call it. And I do this because if you're in the woods, there's probably going to be some little wet spots and stuff like that. Adding things like this to me is a little too much unless I'm specifically trying to make something like a very be like, hey, you guys found this little well in the middle of the woods, this water, would you like to check it out or blah, blah, blah. I'll use something specific like that for a thing like that, but for what I'm doing here, we're just making a little wilderness encounter. Now, again, these are all preference-based. This tree right here, I'm sure you've seen other wilderness or terrain building videos, and people use this for bushes, but it is, in my opinion, better than the actual bush that they have. It just looks like a good bush, you know? So what I'll do is I'll run through here and do this, a couple of these real quick. Pop out a couple little bushes, especially on spots that might be a little unsightly or weird. If you notice, if I put my light on, it's not going to show up on here, of course. But yeah, like you can see the ground underneath this tile. See if I can get something a little different here, just so you can see it. See? You can see that tree underneath the tile right there. So you can do this, like put the bushes in front of those, or you can do what I like to do, which is, again, I'm kind of like bent on trying to make it look as realistic as possible. So I'll just put mud there, and it'll make it look like mud. Otherwise, you'll get a little line of grass. It'll look like that, which just doesn't look good to me at all. But again, it's up to you. So I got a couple bushes on here. This is our items toolbar, by the way, too. This is not items, but just like our assets. This could be like trees and random shit that you can throw into your map. And I'll be in the nature one here. Maybe add another bush just to kind of spruce it up a teeny bit more. You can also rotate like that. Very easy. That's going to be your middle mouse button. That'll let you rotate like that. So yeah, here's our basic just bushed deal. My whole philosophy is I like to work from the ground up. So if it comes to, I'm going to be decorating like the ground, or in this situation, I'm going to be starting from the ground up. So what I would start with is plant life on the ground. I like the single fern the best, just because you can kind of change it up a little bit, versus the double one that's always going to have those two ferns next to each other, when I might not want a fern next to each other. I might want 3. What I'll do is I'll put 3 or 4 about the same height, and then I might add a couple that are a little bit shorter underneath, just to kind of make it not look like it's all the same. And I mean, you could literally just pop them around like that, just drop a few. It just adds variety to it, you know? It don't matter if you're starting low, just add a couple more. Also, another thing to notice too is if you really did want to go up higher up and make like a taller fern style bush right here, if you are doing it, it's going to be floating if you go up too high, like that. But you can go in the middle of the other ferns like this, and they'll cover that float, so it won't look too bad. So you can have some bigger ferns in there if you really wanted to. You know what I mean? Boom, like that. Just make sure you're on the ground, you know, or within the other ferns, so that they'll cover up any type of weird floating aspect of it. I like to use ferns a lot. To me, it honestly looks more realistic than not having them in like a wilderness kind of scenario, you know. So boom, there we got our fern, whatever type of plant thing that's going on. Going around here. There, so now we got some starting to look like a little bit of reality there, you know, or maybe not real with these weird squares, so kind of like Minecraft, but whatever. So again, from the bottom up, add a couple plants that are going to be at our variety here. Maybe pop them in there. It doesn't matter if they overlap. A lot of the people aren't going to be sitting there looking to make sure your leaves aren't going into other leaves. If you can notice, some of these leaves are like pouring into the parts, like that one right here. It's like going inside of that leaf. Whatever. It does not matter. No one's going to see that for the most part. I'm going to add a little more variety, add a big one. Boop, like that. Go. Just got some color in there. Some variety with dirt. Maybe add a couple mushrooms. I like to drop them down a little bit, again, just to add. It's where it's not like they're the same mushroom over and over. And if that is the case, do this. and throw it inside of another one. And now that big one's gone, that makes it look like the other mushrooms, and you kind of got this big one that's popping up every 2 inches. See how these look the same? How do we know? A variety is the key. Using assets just because they're there is not always a good idea. Like, I've seen people who will go on and make like a thing like this, and they'll pop down pine cones, and it's like, there's no trees dropping pine cones, so don't do it. It looks weird. You can add bones. Alt is going to let you rotate assets. I wouldn't just sit the bone on top of the ground like this. I like to do this kind of shit. Looks like it's been buried there for a long time. But in this one, I'm not going to put bones on the ground. But we are going to add some trees now. Here's our speed buttons on the bottom too. If you want to switch to a different category, it's easy peasy. We'll throw a tree down here. And here. Maybe right there. Oop. Right? Now, here's a beautiful tip. You have the top of your thing right there, but if we put it on, it might be perfect like that one did, which never happens, but you might also make it like this, where it's off and to the left. You know, you're like, oh, let's make it go like that. Oh, now it's that way. If you hold down the X button, it'll stick. Now you can hold X and click Control, middle, and rotate your tree, and now you got a taller tree. You want a shorter one, so we have different tree heights. Here, now it's starting to look like some woods. I like to put them in the ground. Let them sink down a little bit. So we have some variety here. Now you're going to look for keynotes on these items if they have them. If you notice, there's this big wedge here in the rock, and this big wedge right here in the rock. If you put them side by side, people are going to notice that wedge. So our goal is to try to eliminate the main pointers that stick out. Well, you can either put a tree there for a bush coming out of the rocks like that, which works wonderfully. Right? There you go. Just adds that variety. How you can add more variety by adding, this is what I like to do, is I'll grab this normal bush that they actually have as a bush, and I'll go down here like this, and I'll just kind of add little patches of moss. That's what it looks like to me. And it looks really good for like filling in cracks on stones and stuff on the ground too as well. If you want to make like a dungeon and have moss burning off the ground or rocks that are slimy and shit, it works really good for that as well. Forgive me for talking a little quiet, my son is sleeping right now. Yeah, and we got some moss on our rock. Maybe a little bit of moss over here like this. Boom, boom. Now we have something that's started to look like real life. Here's some rocks. You can sit them on the ground like this, which is cool. But I'll sink them down because they sink. In real time, in real life, rocks sink. Down over time. Rotate a couple here. You don't need to put them on every single thing. And if you are putting them down, make sure they're not going to be floating in the air, because that kind of looks weird. It'll throw you off too. Sorry about that. Alright. I always like adding crystals too, if you want to have like this cool little crystal effect going on in your world, where they grow around like bushes grow, you know, you can always do that too. I like to make it to where it's like, you know, in my world, I'll have green crystals tend to grow around rocks and other types of things like that, so I won't just sit a green crystal here in the middle of the ground. But I would put it by a rock or something like that, just so it kind of, just like, oh, in our world, you know, people kind of learn to expect that, and they see it, it just becomes part of the actual nature of the world. Very, very cool. It just adds that element of realism, you know. If I'm around a rock like this, I might add more of these little rocks, spits like that out, so there's more rocks around it, just because of little chips of rock that might have fallen off, and you tend to see more rocks around a rock than you would if there was no rock around and there's a tree. There might not be any rocks in that area, you know. So we're just thinking of how nature actually works in real life and kind of implementing it to fit what we need here. So now, if we were to pop in some creatures here, there's a guy here, and he's going to fight a couple bandits. Right? Now, we have a nice scenario here where we can, you know, there's some terrain you have to worry about. Also looks really cool when you have a person jumping through these bushes. It just makes it feel like you're really there, and it adds a whole different level of immersion. You know, you got this guy shooting arrows, or however you want to do it. But yeah, that's a basic tutorial on how to make like a nice little nature map that will definitely captivate your audience and asking for more later on. What I like to do also, just a quick tip at the end, is I'll take this. I will grab, I will go to, for instance, my copy thing right here. I'll make a box around my whole map, copy it, paste it here in a nice little order, like that. And this. So now we're in the same spot. Now I would make it level to where it go down. Delete all the stuff on the top of it, change up the little board pattern, or you can even use the same one and just rotate it and throw different stuff on it and make like 7 or 8 of these. And so anytime you are on the fly with your party and you need to get a map out, you can do one like this, which would be a 9x9 map, which is just a tiny little encounter, or you can make a 12x12 or 10x10 or whatever size you want to make, but make like 10 of them, so if you did have randomly 1 or 2 encounters, you can pull out of 10 and have a different one every single time. And when you do have your party in the map playing, if you just rotate your map, you can literally use the same map more than once if you just wait some time in between that. So that was my quick little tutorial for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you want to get some more videos. And until the next time, later.